Hi, I'm Naima. Welcome back to my channel. This video is about something that I have been reflecting on and feeling for the last couple of months. I also wrote about it on my Substack a couple of weeks ago as well, which I will link below. As governments encourage everyone to return to work, mask mandates are ditched and many return to their normal lives. Over 100 million of us around the world are unable to do so. We're living with an illness that has few widely available treatments, and depending on where we're based, few doctors who understand long COVID at all. This is a parallel pandemic. I came across the term when I was watching a video with Yale immunologist Dr. Akiko Iwazaki, who stated even if the pandemic virus spread were to stop today, we still have tens of millions of people suffering with long COVID. That's a parallel pandemic that's happening, which is getting a lot less attention than acute and severe COVID. I couldn't have said it any better myself. The World Health Organization defines long COVID as the continuation or development of new symptoms 3 months after the initial COVID infection, with symptoms lasting for at least 2 months with no other explanation. This can be followed by a mild or an asymptomatic infection. There are up to 200 symptoms possible, including fatigue, cognitive impairment, tremors, chest pains, breathlessness, palpitations, and way too many for me to list here. We can spend a lot of time focusing on the symptoms and not enough on what this is actually like to live with day to day. It can mean having limited mobility, not being able to walk, let alone exercise, needing support for day-to-day tasks like cleaning and cooking, or no longer being able to work. It can mean clinging on to small improvements and hoping that things might one day improve. It can mean living in fear that at any moment you could be reinfected and have to start the process of recovery all over again. The World Health Organization estimates that long COVID can impact a substantial number of people. Around 1 in 5 people who test positive for COVID exhibit symptoms for 5 weeks or longer. Around 1 in 10 people testing positive for COVID exhibit symptoms for a period of 12 weeks or longer. These numbers are having a huge knock-on effect on society as a whole. For a long time, it felt like when I became ill, I woke up in a completely different world. A world that was no longer as welcoming, accommodating, or as comforting as it had once been. Before getting ill, I often felt like the world was at my fingertips. I could work as many hours as I wanted, see friends several times a week, or travel whenever I could afford to. Now I have to organize myself and plan meticulously for a weekly outing. Whenever I leave the house or disrupt my routine, I run the risk of worsening my symptoms. People with chronic conditions face trade-offs every day about what to do to hold on to their relationships, friendships, and activities, while still prioritizing recovery in a world that was not built for us. These feelings have become more pronounced as it feels like everyone around me is moving on, as friends and family carry on with lives that are almost imperceptibly similar to the ones they had pre-pandemic. It can feel isolating and like we are being left behind. On top of that, it feels like there is less and less impetus to get to the bottom of an illness that has stopped so many of us in our tracks. Instead of it being on a societal level, we are forced on an individual level to make individual decisions about risks that are no longer as transparent as they once were. Living with long COVID takes a huge toll, both physically and emotionally. The chronic symptoms can be debilitating and severely impact a person's quality of life. I've got a few tips of what has helped me. Pacing or energy management. One of the key challenges of long COVID is having debilitating fatigue, lower energy levels, and post-exertional malaise, or PEM. Having a system where you note down what you're doing each day and how you're feeling can be really helpful in understanding patterns in your illness. This isn't something you necessarily need to do forever or for months and months, but just even for a couple of weeks to understand where your body is at. And that can enable you to work out exactly what you can do without worsening your symptoms. Pacing also involves taking frequent breaks throughout the day, prioritizing tasks, and asking for help when you need it. Another tip is calming your nervous system. Not only can stress make long COVID symptoms that much worse, but often the autonomic nervous system is disproportionately in fight or flight. Activities like breath work, meditation, or yoga nidra can really help you to get into a calmer state and enable you to rest and recover. Connecting with others is another thing that has really helped me to keep going. Long COVID can be a really lonely and isolating experience, but joining a support group or reaching out to people with long COVID has really helped me to get through some of these more difficult periods. And finally, prioritizing recovery. It took me a long time to realize that recovery needs to be a top priority. And this means sometimes saying no to things that would otherwise be really enjoyable. This may involve doing everything you can to get enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, staying hydrated, or structuring your life and environment to make recovery as easy as possible. Long COVID is a parallel pandemic, and we need governments, employers, healthcare systems, family, friends to pay attention. Before long, everyone will know someone with long COVID in some form, and we need long COVID patients to receive the recognition, support, and treatment that we need. Most importantly, if you're living with long COVID, know that you're not alone, that there are many people who are recovering and making improvements to live fulfilling and happy lives. Thanks so much for watching.